Hare Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text 34. Apis vidaste Bhagavan Sukhamvo Yasatvatam Kama Dugo Niruda Yamamananti Smahi Sabda Yonim Manomayam Sattva Turiyatatmam Apis Vedaste Bhagavan Sukhamvo Yasatvatam Kama Dugo Niruda Yamamananti Smahi Sabda Yonim Manomayam Sattva Turiyatatvam Api, as also, Svit, whether, Aste, does he, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sukham, all happiness, Va, of you, Ya, one who, Sattvatam, of the devotees, Kamaduga, source of all desires, Aniruddha, the plenary expansion Aniruddha, Yam, whom, Amananti, they accept, Sma, from your, he, certainly, Sabdajonim, the cause of the Rig Veda, Manamayam, creator of the mind, Sattva, transcendental, Turiya, the fourth expansion, Tattvam, principle. Translation, may I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well. He is the fulfiller of all the desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Veda, the creator of the mind and the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu. Purport. Adi Chaturbuja, the original expansions from Baladeva, are Vasudev, Sankarsana, Pradumna and Aniruddha. All of them are Vishnu Tattvas or non-different personalities of Godhead. In the incarnation of Sri Ram, all these different expansions appeared for particular pastimes. Lord Ram is the original Vasudeva and his brothers were Sankarsana, Pradumna and Aniruddha. Aniruddha is also the cause of Mahavishnu from whose breathing the Rig Veda appeared. All this is nicely explained in the Markandeya Purana. In the incarnation of Lord Krishna, Aniruddha appeared as the son of the Lord. Lord Krishna in Dwarka is the Vasudeva expansion of the original group. The original Lord Krishna never leaves Goloka Vrindavan. All the plenary expansions are one and the same Vishnu Tattva, and there is no difference in their potency. Apisvidaste Bhagavan Sukhamvo Yatsattakam Kama Dugoni Ruda Yamamananti Smahi Sabdajonim Manomayam Sattvat Turiyatatvam. May I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well? He is the fulfiller of all the desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Veda, the creator of the mind, and the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu. A little bit of technical explanation here by Srila Prabhupada as far as the position of Aniruddha. Of course, Vidura is asking about all these personalities, and now he's asking about Aniruddha, who is, as Prabhupada says, he is the Vishnu Tattva. He is non-different from the Supreme Personality of God. He is the expansion of the expansion. And just like Lord Ram, Sri Ram appeared in the world, Prabhupada points out here that his brothers were actually expansions of the Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Lord Bharat, Shatrugna, Lakshmana. Of course, I've also read that Lord Ram, of course, is the all-pervasive Vasudeva, and then Lakshmana is the Sesha or Sankarshan, and I've read that Bharat is the expansion of the Sudarshan chakra, and Shatrugna is the Shankar. So I've also read that. But there is a connection between the Shank, the Conch, the Sudarshan, and so on, Sankarshan, expanding from Baladev. Now the Sank, all the symbols on the form of the Lord are expansions of Lord Balaram. Nothing on the Supreme Personality of Godhead is material. It's all spiritual. The conch shell, the Sudarshan chakra, the Gada, they're all spiritual, and actually they're all expansions. So there's some connection there between Baladeva, who expands as this paraphernalia, and of course, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. They all expand from Balaram. So Krishna, and then there's Balaram. Practically, Prabhupada said many times, practically there's no difference between Krishna and Balaram. One time he just explained one is a white and the other is black. They're pretty much the same. But of course they have their different personalities, and of course the original, Eti Chamsakla Pumsa, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swami. The original of the original of the original, that is Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swami, that is Krishna. So all others come from Krishna, but Krishna, the original Krishna only stays in the Krishna loka of the spiritual. He never leaves. He stays in Vrindavan or Mathura or Dwarka. He actually never leaves those places. And even the Krishna that appears in this world, the last Krishna who came and performed various leelas and pastimes, he is an expansion of the Vasudeva, an expansion of the original personality of God, who is existing simultaneously in the spiritual world. So he's an expansion. He is Krishna, but the original Krishna is always there. He doesn't go anywhere else. And everything is done by his expansions, especially Balaram, and from Balaram, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, or first of all, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. This is all technical information, and I was looking up some of this information. Now, they are known, this original, Adi Chatu Vyuha, all technical. Adi Chatu Vyuha. Now, Chatu means four. These four forms are expanded from Balaram. Chatu, four, and Vyuha, just like we have Chakra Vyuha, the arrangement of the chakra, just like in battle, you have different arrangements. So it can mean like that. It's an arrangement. It's also translated, Prabhupada also translates it in some places as guarding. They are guarding the spiritual realms, and they are guarding the material realms also. So this is the Chatu Vyuha, these four forms expanded from Balaram. So original Krishna, he's enjoying in Vrindavan all the work, all the arrangements for the spiritual world, because beyond this world there's a spiritual world. So there's, and they're full of all sorts of planets, spiritual planets. So all those arrangements come from this Adi Chatu Vyuha, these four forms, because from the Sankarshan comes again Lord Narayan. Prabhupada says here, it's described very nicely in Markandeya Purana. There's many Chatu Vyuhas actually. He calls it a secondary chakra. And from Lord Narayan, again Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha expand. And they are going in all the directions of that particular Narayan. And then from that Sankarshan, there's another Narayan. So in this way, all the spiritual planets form. And around each Narayan, form of the Lord, the four-handed form of the Lord, there's the Chatu Vyuha. So there's many Chatu Vyuhas. But Prabhupada generally terms that as the secondary Chakravyuha. The original one is from Balaram, and then from that Sankarshan comes Narayan, and from that Narayana, again another Chakravyuha, and again another Narayan, and then more Chakravyuhas, and then from the Sankarshan comes all the Purusha. You've got the Mahavishnu, you've got the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, you've got the Chiradakshaya Vishnu. And then the Chakravyuha actually is very interestingly, it says comes into the material world also. So these are very much, these four forms of the Supreme, or four expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very much in charge of all the arrangements everywhere. All the arrangements everywhere of the spiritual world and in the material world. There's a description how the Chakravyuha comes into each universe. And there's one form of Vasudeva in the north, and the Sankarshan in the south, like that, and each direction. They are in the directions. And of course, it is said that Aniruddha is the Chiradakshaya Vishnu, Pradumna is the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, so Sankarshan is an Antasation. Vasudeva is the all-pervading Vishnu above the Satyaloka. There's another Vishnu Pura above Brahma's planet. So the four Chakravyuhas are in each and every universe, and they expand in various ways. So this term Vyuha is very pertinent because they are the arrangers. Just as I said, the Chakravyuha, the arrangement of the military phalanx to, go in battle. So these are arrangers, and these are also protectors. They are attendants of Lord Narayana or Lord Vasudeva. They are protecting from all sides. So so very interesting. I did some research on this and found some very interesting references to it. Now, here also in the purport, Prabhupada refers to Aniruddha as the creator of the mind, and this is certainly Pradumna is now. Interesting. Another point that I was able to uncover is that they are also responsible for all the sensual activities and the psychic activities. Pradumna represents the intelligence, and Aniruddha represents the mind in that way, and then Vasudeva the sense. So they are in charge of each individual's. So they do a lot. They're not just passively just there. Don't ask me how they do it all, but they do it all. They do it all. And actually, Lord Shiva offers some nice prayers to Pradumna and Aniruddha. Nama Pankajanabhaya. This is from the 4th canto. Bhutas Suksmendriyatmane Vasudevaya Shantaya Kutastaya Sparochise. My Lord, you are the origin of creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprouts from your navel. So he's referring to all of them. Lord Shiva is referring to all of them. Pradumna, of course, is that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Now, the Aniruddha is the Chiradakshaya Vishnu, and his expansion is the Paramatma. Understand? Paramatma, of course, is in everyone's heart. So this Pradumna Aniruddha, you are the supreme control of the senses and sense objects. You are the all-pervading Vasudeva. Lord Shiva says you are most peaceful. You are self-illuminated, and so on. Then he says Sankarshana, Shukmaya, Durantaya, Takaya Cha. Namo Vishva Prabhohaya, Pradumna Yanta Atmana. He talks about Pradumna as the master of intelligence. You are the Sankarshan. You are the predominating Pradumna. He offers obeisances. So there's many prayers offering obeisances to Lord Sankarshan, offering obeisances to Vasudeva, offering obeisances to Pradumna, and offering obeisances to Lord Aniruddha. Now also it referenced here by Prabhupada that he says here that Aniruddha is the cause of the Mahavishnu. Sankarshan, Aniruddha is their connection is there. Sankarshan, I've also read that Sankarshan, from Sankarshan comes all the Purusha avatars. But of course that Chaturvyuha. So it's kind of a little bit technical but interesting. Aniruddha appeared as the son of the Lord. Well, he appeared as the son of Pradumna. and in Krishna Leela, when Krishna recently came, and there's a very wonderful story, probably all of you remember the story of Usha. Usha, this is in the Krishna book and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Usha and her dream lover. This word is used, the dream lover. And she was the daughter of Banasura. Banasura was the eldest of Bali Maharaj's 100 sons. Bali Maharaj had 100 sons, and the eldest was Banu. But he was later known as Asura because he was acting like an Asura. But of course he appeared in that line of the Asuras also. You know, there was Bali Maharaj, there was Prahlad Maharaj, and they were in the line of the Asuras, so he's known as Banasura. And anyway, so he was the eldest son, and he appeared with 1,000 arms. You all remember this story? He appeared with 1,000 arms, and he was a worshipper of Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva was doing a nice dance, Banasura accompanied him with his 1,000 arms, playing so many drums. He was doing so many nice, beautiful beats with his 1,000 arms. And so he pleased Lord Shiva, who gave him, said that I'll take any benediction you want. And he said, well, can you guard my kingdom on earth? I want you to be the guardian of my kingdom. So in that way, Lord Shiva became the guardian of an expansion of him. He actually stood guard at Banasura's kingdom. But anyway, going back to Usha, who was his daughter, who was Banasura's daughter, she was dreaming at night time about a very wonderful and handsome man, and how she was interacting with this very, very handsome man. And so she had this dream a few nights in a row. And then after one night she woke up, and then this man in her dream just appeared, and it startled her, and she woke up. She woke up calling out his name, and of course when she woke up all her maidservants were around and others were around. And so she was a bit embarrassed calling out, you know, because she was a young princess. And so she was a bit embarrassed calling out for this handsome young man. So Chitralekha was one of her maidservants, and she had mystic powers. So the story goes that she took compassion on the young girl who was dreaming about this handsome young man. And so she started drawing pictures of, you know, Gandharvas and all different personalities in the universe. She started drawing and seeing if any of them matched up to the one in her dream. So as she was drawing this one, no, then she came to Krishna, and then she came to Pradyumna. No, not quite, nearly. Then she drew Aniruddha, and then she became all red-faced and bashful. You know, that's him, that's the one I've been dreaming about, that Aniruddha. Of course, Chitralekha knew that he was the grandson of Krishna. He was the son of Pradyumna, and he was a prince in Dwarka. So she wanted to fulfill her desires, and so she was a great mystic. So she flew to Dwarka and put Aniruddha under some mystic power, and flew him back to Samatpuri. I think that Samatpuri was the name of the kingdom of Banasura. Of course, the young princes had their own quarters. No men were allowed inside there. They were princesses, and they had their maidservants, and she was unmarried, you know. In that time, the Vedic era, the princes were very protected. No man could just go inside. But anyway, Chitralekha brought Aniruddha right in there. And then they were like interacting with each other for quite some time. And it was kind of an open secret amongst all the girls in there that this Aniruddha was in there. It was pretty unprecedented because she had a man in her quarters and she was an unmarried girl. So after some time, of course, there was some intimacy there. And so the girls had noticed that actually she was becoming pregnant. And so they were supposed to protect her, so they didn't want to, it was going to become obvious that what her situation was. So they didn't want to get blamed and be punished for not protecting her properly. So they actually told Banasura, oh, we've noticed that this has happened, So he came storming in and, brought all these, the father came storming in and brought all these soldiers in. Heard that there was a man in there. And so Aniruddha, of course, he stood up. He was a great warrior also. And he fought off all the soldiers and everything like that. But then Banasura, he was a great powerful personality. He was a great mystic. He employed some Naga serpent snakes to bind him up, bind Aniruddha up. So he bound him up. Of course, Usha was very crying and everything like that. No, don't do it, don't do it. I love him, and all that type of thing. So she was crying. But no, he bound him up and put him in a dungeon or something like that. And then, of course, meanwhile, in Dwarka, Pradumna and Aniruddha's mother and so many others were, where's Aniruddha? We haven't seen. Where's he disappeared? So, it went on. They went searching for him. They couldn't find him anywhere. And so it went on, and week after week, it turned into months. It went over like 4 months later. They couldn't find him. And then Narad Muni came along and told them he knew. When Narad Muni was involved, I think, there's one description that when Chitralekha tried to get into Dwarka, she couldn't get in because it was protected. It was protected by Krishna had arrangement that no one could just get in there. And so Narad Muni instructed how she could get in. So she got in. So later on, Narad Muni came to the Yadus and told them all that, actually, Aniruddha's over down there with Banasura. And, he told them the whole thing, what had happened, and how Banasura had imprisoned him. And so all the Yadus, headed by Krishna and Ban, became very indignant. How dare he? He's a Yadava prince. He can't just put him in a dungeon like that. And so they became all indignant and took, they went down with all the soldiers and everything like that, prepared to attack the kingdom of Banasura. Yield up our prince Aniruddha immediately or suffer the consequences, right? And so they did that. And of course Banasura was outraged that they'd even come and challenged him. So he sent out his soldiers. So there's a whole description of that battle. You remember this story from the Krishna book. Very wonderful story. The whole incident's a very wonderful story. So Nitapura, that was the kingdom. And so then they all went down there. Of course, Banasura was very powerful. And Lord Shiva had promised to be the guardian of his city. And so when Krishna came, Balaram came, or they all came. Pradumna came, Satyaki came. I was talking about Satyaki last. They all came down along with all the big, huge army. So Banasura matched their army with his army, and they all went marching out, everything like that. And they were all fighting, over Aniruddha. So this was like a whole battle going on, and Lord Shiva brought down Kartikeya. He brought down Bhutas and hobgoblins and ghosts, and he brought down a whole horde as well. So this was all going on. So there's a wonderful description in Krishna book and in the Bhagavatam about who fought with who, and so on and so forth. Now what? I'll just read a few excerpts of it. All the demigods assembled in the sky to witness this battle. They were very astounded what was going on. So here it is said here that Lord Shiva, accompanied by Kartikeya, a horde of mystic sages, took up arms against Balaram and Krishna. Banasura fought against Satyaki. Bana's son fought against Samba. Lord Krishna harassed the followers of Lord Shiva. By putting Lord Shiva into a state of confusion, he was able to destroy Banasura's army. Kartikeya was so strongly beaten by Pradyumna that he fled the battlefield. And when the remnants of Banasura's army, harried by the blows of Lord Balaram's club, now Lord Balaram was wreaking havoc here also, and so they all scattered. So then Banasura became very enraged, and he came out, and Banasura came directly against Lord Krishna. Krishna had destroyed his chariot, broke his chariot and bow. Then he sounded his Panchajanya conch shell. Then Banasura was just almost being killed by Krishna, then, and interestingly enough, Banasura's mother, to save her son, came out naked in front of Krishna. So then when Krishna saw her naked with her hair scattered, he just kind of looked away. So that then Banasura was able to escape. And that's why she did it. That's why she did it. So he was able to escape. Seeing his chance, Bana fled into his city. So, after Lord Krishna had thoroughly defeated all the hobgoblins and the ghosts and the Buddhas fighting under Lord Shiva, then Shiva deployed his Shiva Jvara weapon. The Shiva Jvara weapon. I did this play one time. I organised this play. It was quite a good play with the Shiva Jvara and of course the Vishnu Jvara. So the Shiva Jvara, he was fever personified. He had 3 heads, 3 legs, and he approached Lord Krishna to fight with him. Seeing the Shiva Jvara, who was the personification of heat and fever, Krishna released his Vishnu Jvara. The Vishnu Jvara was the personification of extreme cold. So then the Shiva Jvara was being defeated and overwhelmed by the Vishnu Jvara, and he begged Lord Krishna for mercy. Lord Krishna was pleased with the Shiva Jvara, and after the Lord had promised him freedom from fear, the Shiva Jvara bowed down to Lord Krishna and departed the scene. Then Banasura directly attacked Krishna again, wielding all kinds of weapons in his 1,000 hands. But Lord Krishna took his Sudarshan chakra disc and began cutting off all the demon's arms. He spoke as follows to Shiva. He said, Banasura does not deserve to die since he was born in the family of Prahlad Maharaj. Now, an interesting story here that he promised Prahlad Maharaj in his Lord Vamana incarnation that he would not kill anyone in the family. That the Lord would not kill in the present or in the future anyone in the family. So Krishna didn't kill Banasura, but he cut off all his arms except 4. I have severed all but 4 of Bana's arms just to destroy his false pride. Now, going back here, Banasura, after getting this benediction that Lord Shiva would be his protector, he became very puffed up, very arrogant, even so much so that he practically challenged Lord Shiva. He said, no one can stand up against me, even the demigods flee in fear. And so there's only you left, really, who may be my equal. So in sarcastic words, he kind of challenged. And actually Shiva cursed him at that time. You will be defeated in the future for this arrogance and pride. And so it was Lord Shiva actually cursed him. So that Krishna came to fulfill the curse of Lord Shiva. So he didn't kill him, he cut off all of his arms except 4. And just to destroy his false pride, Krishna says here, and I have annihilated his army because they were a burden to the earth. Henceforward he will be free from old age and death, and remaining fearless in all circumstances, he'll be one of your principal attendants. So Banasura will be one of the principal attendants of Lord Shiva. Assured he had nothing to fear, Banasura then offered his obeisances to Lord Krishna and had Usha and Aniruddha seated on their wedding chariot and brought before the Lord. The Lord then set off for Dwarka with Aniruddha and his bride leading the procession. When the newlyweds arrived at the Lord's capital, they were honoured by all the citizens and the Lord's relatives and the Brahmanas. So we see here what comes in the end. Of course, it would have been better that Banasura didn't place Aniruddha in that position or fight. Things get a little out of hand sometimes, don't they? To say the least. They get a little bit out of hand. This could have all been avoided if just accepted the position and just arranged for a nice marriage. So here we find that Aniruddha was married to Usha in this way. So so therefore, and Prabhupada refers to this, that how Aniruddha came when Krishna came, and Pradyumna came. There's nice stories about Pradyumna. Here also there's a reference to how from Aniruddha, the Rig Veda has appeared. Of course, from the Chirodakshaya Vishnu, from the Garbhodakshaya. There's all connections there from Aniruddha and Pradyumna, how all the Vedas are manifest. So Prabhupada ties it all in to the appearance of Lord Aniruddha. So here's the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu. All right, I'll read this verse again if anyone has any questions or comments. Apisviraste Bhagavan Sukham Vo Ya Sattvatam Kama Dugo Niruddha Yam Amananta Sma Hi Sabda Jonim Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tattvam. May I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well? He is the fulfiller of all the desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Veda, the creator of the mind, and the fourth plenary expansion of Lord Vishnu. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes. Oh yeah, is there a microphone?
So Maharaj, we've got the four Vedas, and so often we read that the Rig Veda seems to be prominent, like considered the oldest and most authoritative. Is there any reason for that? Was it the first one uttered? Or because we sort of understand that all the Vedas, all the Sastra are basically eternal, but they're introduced into each creation. But why is it that Rig Veda seems to be prominent?
Well, they're also personified. You know, you read about the personified Vedas standing around Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Actually, when you visit South India, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a few temples where there's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu lying, and the personified Vedas are at his head offering prayers. But I have read that the original Veda was the Rig Veda, and the other Vedas are manifest from that original Veda, which is the Rig Veda. At other times I've read that all four appear simultaneously, but there's more reference actually to the Rig being the original, and the other fours coming after the Rig Veda. So I think here, when that is spoken about here, who's breathing the Rig Veda appeared, they're referring to the Rig Veda as being the original, and then the other Vedas appeared after that.
So,
but they are eternal, but they just appear in different.
So or Srila Vyasadeva, he got the one Veda and divided into four, so that one original Veda was the Rig Veda.
Yeah, the Rig Veda. Yeah. Well, that's a good reference to Vyasadeva dividing that original Veda into four. Well, that Singh Kavacha want to make a comment.
In the 9th canto, it mentions that the Atharva Veda is the first.
Yeah. Now you get different comments like that. Now the Atharva is referred to also as the leftover Veda, because that was the last one. Whatever was left over, that became the Atharva Veda. So I've read that the Atharva Veda was the first, and I've also read the Atharva Veda was the last. I've read that the Rig Veda was the first and all the other Vedas, but certainly, Vyasadeva, there was the one Veda and he divided into four. When the Vyasadeva divided into four, certainly Atharva was last. What was left over for the first three. Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nis Trigunya Bhava. There's one verse in the Gita which talks about Triveda, the three Vedas. So quite often, when the Shastras talk about the Vedas, they talk about three Vedas. But of course later on we learned that Vyasadeva made a fourth Veda. The three Veda, there was the three divisions, but then there was some left over, and then he made the Atharva. But quite often, so in this day of Brahma, but in another day of Brahma may have been different, how the Vedas manifest. That's my understanding of it. So in this day of Brahma they manifest in a certain way, in another day of Brahma they manifest in another way, and another day of Brahma could be another way again. So I've read that the Rig Veda is the, and then I've also read the Yaju Veda is the, so to me it seems like that they come in different ways in different days of Brahma. But certainly Rig Veda is often referred to as the original. Yes.
Maharaj, you were saying how in my next talk I said Balaram is essentially the same as Krishna, except Krishna's blackish, Balaram's white. And yet, that really mysterious sort of thing where Balaram was sympathetic to Duryodhana and all this.
He's what?
Balaram was sympathetic to Duryodhana before, remember he left before the...
Oh, yeah, sympathetic. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, well, they've got different personalities. They are one and the same, but they have different personalities. So certainly for the Leelas, for the arrangement of nice Leela, so certainly they've got different personality, character. I don't know if that's what you're asking. It's Leela, and also they've got different personalities and different feelings about things, And so, Lord Balaram, sometimes he plays the elder. There's that story of Lakshmana had to do so many things on Ram's request, and especially he didn't like having to go to Sita and telling her, because Lord Ram says, now you give Sita a message that now I've killed Ravana, saved her, and but she has been in the house of another man, so I've liberated her, but now she can just choose wherever she wants to go. She can go there. So Lakshman was very upset about having to do that. He said, I don't want to tell her that. But Lord Ram said, no, you have to go and tell her. But he was just getting Sita to show her purity. But Lakshman at that time, he said that, he told Lord Ram, all right, but in the next incarnation, I want to be your elder brother. So then I can instruct you and you have to do what I say. So, because you do read that sometimes Balaram comes as the younger brother of Krishna, when Krishna comes in the Krishna Leela, sometimes he's the younger brother. But in this particular time he came as the elder brother. And, to me it seems because Lakshman asked that he be the elder brother. But you quite often read that he is, in other times when Krishna appeared, he appeared as the younger brother. And certainly he is the servant of Godhead. He sees himself as the serving Krishna. And so they act differently, different personalities. Sometimes due to Yoga Maya, Krishna knows something, but Balaram doesn't know something. So there's so many instances like that. So different, same but different, but very, very, very close. Very, very. Some are more separated expansions, more differentiated, plenary of the plenary of the plenary. But he's the first, so he's practically identical.
Thank you, Maharaj. In the story of the dream lover, it appears Aniruddha and Usha are engaging in illicit sex.
Well, such was the thing between princes and princesses sometimes. I got no further comment to make about that. Seems that it was the case. Sometimes these things happen. But anyway, they did, and then the right arrangement was not to actually imprison Aniruddha, which Banasura did. Of course, from the father's side, you can probably understand that. Fathers want to kill the guy, whoever he is. But anyway, so he shouldn't have really imprisoned him. He should have just got them married. And so that's what eventually happened. They got them married. So that was the proper arrangement. Everyone agreed. Of course, Banu sort of came to his senses when he was defeated by Krishna. He actually came to his senses, and he genuinely felt remorse and apologetic to Krishna. He paid his obeisance, so he became a changed personality. So yes, there was illicit connection in that regard, but it was a part of a Leela. Yes, yes, Bas.
Well, Maharaj, just on that, just a comment on that there are different types of marriages that are varying, but not all.
Oh, the Gandhava. It's a Gandhava.
Gandhava.
Yeah.
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 And sometimes.
Yeah, it's on. Yes, it's on.
Okay.
Oh.
And sometimes.
Oh, it's going on and off because of the battery. Yeah.
Can I give this? And sometimes the prince, he he kidnaps the princess, right? That's another type of marriage. So in this case, it seemed like the princess
Kidnap the prince.
to get kidnapped. So,
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because there are Gandhava, which is accepted in the Kshatriya order, that the prince comes and kidnaps the princess, and someone may not agree, and there's sometimes a battle. But it's acceptable for a Kshatriya in the warrior class that's an acceptable form of marriage. But this is very unusual because although she didn't kidnap him directly, it was Chitralaya who brought her. But once he came there, she didn't say no. So, so in that sense, you could say she kidnapped him. So whether that's a Gandhava right, I haven't read that's a Gandhava right. But nevertheless, you could classify it as in the Gandhava category.
Just as high class princesses could choose their own husband anyway.
The princesses? Yeah. But normally there's a nice arrangement made, So it was a very unusual affair, and it led to an interesting leela, didn't it? Very interesting. A wonderful story. I was very attracted to that story. And I remember doing, as I said, I did organise a play one time where we did that battle between Banasura and Yeah.
just somewhere in that chapter also talks about Banasura's 1,000 arms, and he was so frustrated that he couldn't fight with anybody. So then he went to the ocean and he started to fight the ocean, right? I don't know where that fits in, but
Yeah, because he was so powerful, and then so he got. You read a few asuras have done things like that. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.